The other day I talked about some Commandos, and I just wanted to mention that when I mentioned that the chain might fall off if your swing arm got a bit sloppy, I was kind of joking, you know. It would have to be ridiculously screwed before it would even look like doing that. Anyway, there's always three things to take note with a Commando, and if you get the chance, just keeping an eye on your isolastics, keeping them shimmed or modifying to the later model adjustable type, pinning the swing arm, and when you actually have the front end out for any reason, change the steering head bearings to tapered rollers. They're the three main things to keep a Commando handling well, which they do, they handle very well. Anyway, so this video is about pre-units, and pre-units with unit style exhaust cams fitted, and then timing covers modified to fit your points or, you know, electronic ignitions of any sort into the timing cover. Now what you're looking at here is a 62 Bonnie. It's not a non-matching bike, you know, but it's a 62 engine cases. It's a bit of a big block and a stroker, as I kind of tend to do. So Norton crank, 6.3 con rods, 750 barrel. And you can see that it's a sunny route barrel because right there's no oiler, and up inside there, it's awfully difficult to see, but there's a tiny little 1/4 inch bolt in the 9th bolt place. That's sunny route. And that's a 76mm block, so I'm not sure. I think it's at 77mm, so that would make it 828, the same as an actual 850 Commando. So what you got here is an 850 pre-unit. There's a gearbox. The gearbox in there is a 5-speed, and on the other side there's a belt drive. And this is all about, this cover was done by a fella, actually lives in the Lockyer Valley, years ago, but it was a little bit out, and down in there on the crankshaft I had to, for the seal, the centering of the seal, I had to actually remachine this cover to get that to fit, and there's still problems with it. This oiling hole here is see, it's a bit bigger seal in there now, and then the oiling hole, I'm going to have to make an offset feed, a dowel. But anyway, so that's a bummer. And it's just what you can see there is the tool for fitting, so the seal goes on. It's a later model cam. When I build engines, I always use the 1/2 inch wide gears. I get rid of the 3/8, like pre-unit engines or early unit engines. Where possible, I'll flick them and put the later model T140 or late T120 gears, and that gives me a 1/2 inch wide gear. You can see down on here, if you're used to looking at these things, that's a modified Norton nut for the crank. Anyway, so when I don't have access to something like this one-piece cover, I do this sort of thing, which is to modify a unit and a pre-unit cover, and you can see where it's all welded and then filled and stuff in here. And what I've done there is I've taken a pre-unit cover and then a unit cover and cut bits and pieces out of it, so that this is the corner nose of a unit cover, and then I make this adapter pin, knock the bush out of the cam, make that a nice fit, then that's a nice fit over there, and you get your centralising of your seal, and these 2 bolt holes here work. So obviously when you weld all this up, it needs cleaning up of course, you end up with a little bit of a shoulder here, as can be seen there, and it's difficult to polish that out because you've got non-parent material, welding rod in other words, you know, going into it, so it'll have a different colour, a bit difficult to polish. Unlike that cast piece there, I'm still trying to clean it up. But anyway, it still works quite well, and you know, it can be painted or powder coated or whatever. This little bike here is just another little sort of pre-unit bobbery thing coming together. It's just a 650, it's an 8-bolt 650. It might be a little bit of a hand grenade because I'm putting a 300 Asian supercharger on behind. The belt primary still to go in. Shaft on the Asian has been modified to extend it out, and I'll have to put a little bit of a support out here. I'm still in the process, as you can see, but it's starting to get a bit closer. And when I do a belt drive, like on that other pre-unit or this one, what I like to do, as you can see in there, that piece of steel, I've already set my centers for the belt drive, and then I locate that top bolt with that plate so that if I need to check any run out, I can just do it from the other side, moving the top of the box a little bit either way. That's run out on the belt I'm talking about. But anyway, so this is another one of those covers, and it's, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it off, it's a bit tight. It's all still a bit grubby inside there, but final clean up and whatever necessary. But it's actually, you can see the goo on it, maybe. It's actually been used at some stage, why it's still a little bit grubby and needs a clean up before it ends up on this job. But I've used them on a number of occasions, and you can see the rise, or the shoulder, yeah, it's a little bit rough in places. You can see where the generator nose has been welded on, which is one of the options you have. Now the generator nose, I use a set of generator cases, half case, just an old half case, that I can then make it so that I can either make it alternator, like it is sitting there now, or weld the nose on and then you have generator. But that's as you can see, a cover that's been used in another job, pulled off and converted back and sold the bike that was on. And anyway, so, and this is a couple of the pre-units that I'm kind of doing up, just as funky little things to ride around on. But anyway, bit of a 50 style bobbery looking thing. No guards were chopped, original guards. That back guard came off an old 54 6T that had the guards chopped, had a 6-inch over and a 16-inch wheel and all that sort of rubbish from the day. And that's a Indian made guard that I have no problem chopping them down because you can still buy those new. And but anyway, so just to give it that little bit of a 50s look, you know, so it's coming along. So there you go, that's what you can do if you want to upgrade and get away from, well, in this case, because I want to put this little 300 supercharger in, it would, a Maggie or another ignition in there would obviously get in the road. In the case of this one, I'll then just use a plate on the back of where the Maggie would go and run a breather off it and get a good big bore breather. Well, it is a big bore engine, so, but anyway, so that's one way of going about changing your ignition from a magneto. Magnetos cost $500–600 to do up nowadays, or you buy a Payson or some other form of ignition housing with a generator. I've got a rebuilt generator for this one, so you put a generator in it, and usually that'll run a Payson because they're fairly low, you know, load on your system. You know, especially if it's a digital Payson or Boyer, and the digital really doesn't use much load, you know, much wattage. So a generator is usually quite fine. But if you want to get away from the Maggie and do that, that's fine. Or this is the other alternative, is to, if the engine's apart, stick a unit construction oil exhaust cam in it. Get a couple of covers, you'd already have one cover probably, and find a unit cover, chop it all up, bolt it to the case and weld her up, and there you go. You can stick your Payson in there without the housing, the expensive housing, or your boiler or whatever. Anyway, there you go, something different. Thanks for watching.